Okay. I'm here. I'm already here. So, yes.
What's your favorite go-to beginner Buddhist teachings book?
My favorite go-to beginner teachings book. You know what I think actually is really a good one is he's an American teacher that studied in Tibet. His name is Lama Surya Das, and he wrote a book called Awakening the Buddha Within. And I've read this book a few times. I've been to some of his teachings and stuff. He lives in Massachusetts, so he doesn't come around California very often. But that book, it's a read. I mean, it's probably 400 something pages. I don't know. It's like this big. I can't believe I read the whole thing, to be honest with you. I mean, I'm not a huge reader, so, you know, I always tend to get books and then I start reading them and then I stop because, you know, I'm not really a big reader. But that book is great. I highly recommend it. Also, one more is a guy that I've studied with, and he taught me some things. It's called Living as a River, and his name is pronounced Bodhipaksa. I could spell it, but I probably would mess up the spelling. But he wrote a book all about a practice called the 6 Elements, which I teach quite frequently and used to teach a lot. That's really, really good. It's just kind of about finding about the connection between yourself and the earth and all the elements and how that looks to how you compare to others and so on and so forth. It's a great book too. So those two would be my go-tos for sure. Yes, right here.
Could you briefly share some Buddhist principles that have served you well in your life that for the novice?
Sure. I think that's kind of a question that would have a lot of answers. I think really the main thing is just being able to recognize that we are all the same on some level. We're all human beings in this case, and we all share the same air, and we're all using the same earth, and we're all using the same energies. All that. I mean, when I teach the 6 element practice, which I was just mentioning in that book, it goes into meditations about how we notice when we're breathing that we're all breathing the same air together. I'm sharing air with you right now, and we're sharing breath right now, and we're sharing space right now. I think that is a really good thing to recognize, this whole coexisting sort of situation. And then also the other thing is, I kind of touched on it before, which is just recognizing that really everything is relative in the sense that it's all your perception of what things are. So happy, sad, putting labels on all these things, they really are all just labels. They're not happy or sad, they just are. And then the last thing I would say would be change. And accepting change and acknowledging change. A lot of people freak out when they think about, I could be the same way sometimes. I used to be terrible about it, but a lot of people don't like change. They like, well, I have a great job right now. My house is great. I got, my relationships are great. I'm having such a good time. Why would I want any of this to change? And then boom, you lose your job over something. Or you lose this, or you lose that, and then all of a sudden, now what? So you have to be preparing yourself and to recognize, that's why these awareness meditations, which we did obviously for a whole whopping, I think it was probably 3 minutes, but you notice that all those things are going on and then there's no control for them. You have to somehow let go of the control. There's this great Buddhist meme that's on Facebook every now and again. It's got a Buddha sitting on a rock or whatever, and he's just looking out at the water, and it says, "Relax, nothing is in control." And that's definitely, a hard thing to just, But those are really important things to think about, nonetheless. Yes.
I didn't want to get political, but I wanted to ask, since you're a Buddhist, I was talking too.
Right.
But
Yeah, after all, we all are human beings, right? To be honest with you, I don't really have an answer for that. That's a fairly, I guess you would say, political sort of question to some extent, and I would prefer to not go into it just because I don't know enough about it to be able to answer it in a way that I feel would be the right way to answer it. I guess I'll.
Buddhist concerned. Well, I was wondering.
It's not even something that's been talked about with between me and like my teacher and my temple and stuff. I haven't had any conversations about it. So I guess in my world, no, it's not something that's been talked about. That's not to say that in general that it hasn't been discussed by other Buddhist groups and such. But obviously it's concerning. But I don't, I can't really answer that question appropriately. Yes.
Did you get into music at first, or were you always a Buddhist? Did one lead to the other, and how do you let those two facets of your life inform each other?
I've been into music my whole life for the most part. I mean, I've been a musician since I was 12, and then when I got into high school, I started working in music business. I started writing for magazines and work. I interned at a management company when I was in like the early 90s or late 80s when I was, like 20 years old. So I think all of that kind of started before the Buddhist side came in. The Buddhism came in about in 1993-ish. And then I didn't start my management company and start doing that until 99. So yeah, I mean, there are similar time periods, but the music stuff came first. I do think that there is a good combination. There's a good between the two of those things. There are a lot of practices that I've learned in Buddhism that I think have made me a better manager, that have made me be able, be more empathetic to my artists and what they're going through and what they're trying to accomplish. I mean, being a manager is it's not really an easy job because you're trying to work with someone else's vision and trying to figure out how to take their vision and do things with it, right? And some artists allow me to be creative and help with certain creative aspects. Some artists like to do all the creative themselves and just say, here's everything, you just go and figure out what we're gonna do with it. I mean, every relationship that I have with my artists are different. So I think that being a Buddhist and being a Buddhist teacher and having the training, I think has actually helped me a lot in that respect. It's helped me to be able to find ways to interact better with them, as well as with other people that I have to work with as far as in the business itself, working with record labels or booking agents or any of that stuff. I mean, it all goes hand in hand. Most importantly, it's all about that, bringing in that patience again, right, and bringing in that empathetic sort of standpoint to be able to see things from other people's perspective, trying to put yourself in their shoes. Like if I was the one making this music and I was the one releasing this music or doing that, what would that look like to me? Eventually what ends up happening is after working with artists for a long time, you start thinking like them when you're on the phone with them or when you're working with them. Like I already know where they're going by the time they've got there. Like they'll say something, I'll be like, that's exactly what I expected you to say. But that takes time. Because that's building a personal relationship with them aside from a business relationship with them. But, Buddhism is a great thing because in reality, it's not truly a religion to me. I mean, I don't really think of it as a religion certainly in the Western view of what religion is, you would say. I mean, it really is a philosophy. It's a way of life. And if you can adapt Buddhist philosophies into what you're doing professionally, personally, all that, there's a lot of benefit that can be had there. So, yes.
How do you differentiate compassion from empathy? Do you think that that's important?
I like to think of them together, really. I mean, I think that's a good question. I think you kind of really can't have one without the other, so to speak. I think they come together, really. I think patience, empathy, and compassion all kind of ride that same wavelength together. And without one, the wheels on the cart may not roll the way that they should roll. You know what I'm saying? So I don't know if I really differentiate them, but they're very similar. In some ways, they're almost the same word with just a different, the same definition to some extent. You know what I mean? So I don't know how we're doing on time here.
One more question?
One more question? Yes.
You and a lot of other people talk about meditation and what an impact it would make daily, and I think for a lot of us that's kind of scary or daunting,
Mm-hmm.
the idea of meditation. Can you briefly just kind of lay out what a daily meditation would look like, how you could get
Sure.
started with something like that?
Sure. I try to teach some beginning meditation classes every now and again. Sacramento Buddhist Meditation Group does them once a month, and sometimes I've done those. But I will, the thing that I always tell everybody is, for one, when you start trying to do it, don't be so hard on yourself. When I first started meditating, 30 years ago or whatever, I was like a mess. I would get my little I get my little Buddha statue, light my candle, and I'd sit there and I'd be like, I'm meditating. I'm ready to go. And then a car would drive by and I'd be like, what the? And then the sirens would be, because I lived in the city, and it's like the sirens would be going off. I'd be like, all right, forget it, that's it. I'm not doing this. I can't meditate. How can I do this? This is ridiculous. So that's the main thing, is don't be hard on yourself. You just sit, and as simple as possible, you can literally just pay attention to your in-breath and your out-breath and the moment in between, and notice that they're what they look like, how they feel. And then these awareness practice, like what I did today, so simple to do on your own. Just paying attention to the sensations in the body, paying attention to the sounds that you're hearing. Now, when I hear sirens, I use that as my meditation fodder. I'm listening to that. And then I'm listening to the guy talking outside. And then I'm listening to the truck drive by. And I use that as my meditation tool. Before, when I first started, that was all just annoyances. That was all stuff that was there purposely to ruin my meditation experience. I swear they put him there on purpose. They're like, he's meditating chaos.
Like ideally, how? Say we do it in the morning.
Okay. You can do this in multiple different ways. Some people say that it's better to meditate 10 to 20 times a day in like 1 and 2 minute increments. I don't do that. I try to take breaks from from things, but typically I just do 15 minutes in the morning. I try to make time for 15 minutes. But if you do it consistently enough, and you do it all the time, if you take 10 to 15 minutes every morning and just get up and just sit and pay attention to your breath, and most importantly, don't be so hard on yourself. If your mind starts traveling to another thought, like you're focused on your breath and you're like, oh, I forgot, I gotta go to the grocery store, I totally forgot. Oh, wait, I was meditating, that's right. So when I always tell people when I start doing beginning meditation is I said, okay, we sit down, and I said, okay, we're not meditating. That's what I always tell them. And they all look at me like, what? And I'm like, we're not meditating. We're just sitting. That's all we're doing. Because, you might see the guy sitting in the corner, and he's like, when I do these group ones, and the guy's sitting in the corner, and he's all like perfectly sitting straight, and he's like, he looks like he's got it together. We have no idea what's going on in that guy's head, right? He may have it together posture-wise, but we don't know. So you can't be hard on yourself. Just take it easy. Just sit. That's all you're doing. Just get comfortable. You can even meditate lying down. Although I usually fall asleep when that happens. But you can. I've had people come to my meditation classes and bring out like a yoga mat and a pillow, and they lie there while I guide a meditation. I'm like, that's totally fine. Whatever is comfortable. So anyways, but yeah, absolutely. But I guess that's it. Thank you.